The chronicle of the excavation in Merenta, Attica, Greece, the daughter Phrasiklia and the Kouros and their secrets. The daughter Phrasiklia and the Kouros, the young man that is, well, I would say he was like maybe 17, 19 years old, were buried around 480 to 490 BC, before the Persian invasion of Athens, as indicated by the datings of the finds. The fact that the statues were not exposed for a long time also explains the fact that several traces of the paint they bore have survived, because the ancient statues, the Greek statues, were actually painted. Their hair, their face, the colors of their tunics, and with time, of course, the paint of the marble wore off. Now, the daughter Phrasiklia was erected in the tomb of the young Phrasiklia, who died unmarried. As the inscription engraved on the base informs us, it's the work of the sculptor Aristion, who came from the island of Paros and dates back to around 550-540 BC. The teenager, the Kouros, the young teenager, the man, was made a little later than the Kori, which is the young girl. As we know from history, the Athenians, during periods of war and when they had to leave the city, buried their valuable objects in the hope of finding them again when they returned. Even in cases where they never returned, archaeological research brought to light their buried treasures and managed to tell their story. In this particular excavation, archaeologists noticed that an ancient marble inscription had been placed as building material and was embedded in the Church of the Mother of God in Merenta. In 1968, the marble inscription was detached from the church and transferred to the Archaeological Service for study, and there was found that it was the base of the statue, and it read, "Phrasiklia will forever be called a daughter, since the gods have appointed her this name instead of marriage." The set jewels that were in her tomb declared that she was a daughter from a financially strong family, elite, and the gods loved her and took her to their place. The base with the marble inscription was the reason for extensive research in the surrounding area. In February 1972, about 600 feet or 200 meters from the chapel of the Virgin Mary, the last excavation began in the field of Spiridon Panayotou, under which the cemetery of the ancient municipality of Myrinondos lay. The excavation was directed by the Superintendent of Antiquities, Euthemius Mastrokostas, carried out by the then young scientific assistant Evangelos Kakavoyanis. The latter had decided to convince his superior to extend the excavation into the neighboring field because he had well-founded suspicions that something was hidden there. And finally, the Superintendent of Antiquities agreed to an exploratory excavation, which would last only one day, and he calmly awaited the notification of the end of the work. On the morning of Thursday, May 18, 1972, the hoe encountered the right side of a marble Kouros, the young man, along with a magnificent statue of a painted marble Kori, the young girl, which were buried in a rough ancient pit measuring 0.9 meters by 1.5 meter, almost 2 meters. None of the crew could believe their eyes. The director of the excavation, amazed by the discovery, immediately rushed from Athens to the area, and many members of foreign archaeological schools followed him. In the following days, newspapers published images of the statues, which had already begun to be conserved in the laboratories of the National Archaeological Museum, in whose exhibition they remain to this day. The statues were associated with the cemetery of Myrinondos, since it was known that such masterpieces stood in the tombs of the richest tombs of Attica, is the area of Athens, of the 6th century BC, and the hypothesis was formulated that someone had hastily lifted them from their position, unintentionally breaking the extremities of their body, that is, maybe hands and feet, and placed them face to face in a nearby pit, taking care to cover them with freshly dug soil. The daughter, the Gori, is made of Parian marble, has a total height of 2.115 meters, including the base and plinth, while it is placed on a foundation 26 centimeters high. Her height without the base is 1.79 meters, which corresponds to that of a woman of medium to tall stature. She wears a long tunic decorated with rosettes, stars, and swastikas, and with a vertical band with meanders in the center and a border with colored leaves at the bottom. At the waist, she wears a belt, also decorated, and on her feet sandals. With her right hand, she grasps a tunic at thigh height, while in her left hand she holds a closed lotus bud in front of her chest. Her hair is crowned with a high crown of flowers and lotuses. On her neck she wears a necklace, in her ears earrings, and on the wrists of both hands a bracelet. The long and well-groomed hair is combed and ends with many wavy curls on the shoulders, chest, and back. From the pigment residues preserved on the surface of the marble, we assume the once colorful appearance, which in our days repeatedly becomes a subject of international research and study, as well as the subject of archaeological exhibitions. On the other hand, the young teenager, the Kouros, is 1.89 meters tall. It's a construction made of Parian marble and is preserved in good condition. The legs, the right hand, and the glands of the penis are missing. The arms were broken at the bracts as well as the wrists and have been glued back into place. The statue shows a naked teenager in the typical stance of the time, walking, putting forth the left foot. The arms hang in a natural vertical position, with the elbow slightly bent and the hands closed with the thumb in front. The hair is elaborately worked and decorated, the head with large spiral curls, while ankle-shaped placamas fall behind the shoulders. The diadem adorns the head. From the faintly visible remains of painting, we conclude that the statue, as part of it, was painted with bright colors on the hair, eyebrows, nipples, and pubis, while a chain necklace was painted on the neck. The excavation and archaeological findings in the area of Marenta justify the view that the Attica land hides brilliant treasures of antiquity in its bowels. Nowadays, however, due to the economic hardship the Greeks found themselves in, of course, the discovery of these treasures is indefinitely suspended, giving life to the myths, stories, and secrets preserved in the inscriptions. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.